So what we've actually seen recently is that a lot of consumers have relationships with multiple financial service providers. So we're not in kind of the usual days where a consumer just had one bank account. We're now in a world where consumers have 5 to 10 to more bank accounts. So that means that their data is kind of spread across a wide range of financial service providers. So what we have to do is really make sure that we're getting access to all of that data. And the access is underpinned by the customer giving their consent. And it's incredibly foundational for a consumer to be able to collect all of their information and put it into one place. And again, kind of leaning back to that, the fact that customers have so many, that's why it's really important for us to kind of have permission across the board to a wide range of different products. So from a product perspective, it really provides the ability for a financial institution and a fintech company to partner together and to collaborate in order to deliver a more holistic view for a consumer. So it's why you're starting to see a kind of a growth of those one-stop shop apps where you can connect your everyday banking accounts, but then you can also connect your investment accounts or your mortgage accounts. So you really are getting that holistic view of yourself as a consumer. And then what we can then also do kind of from a product perspective is build on that and give a customer more insight. So start telling them how can they better use their data? How can they better use their finances? Are they actually getting the best value for money from a insurance product? Are they getting the best rates for their mortgage? Is it maybe potentially worth them thinking about looking into a new mortgage or remortgaging their house or things like that? So it's not just the kind of part one of let me get all my data into one location. The next step is, okay, how do I then encourage and enable the customer to take that information and make better financial decisions? So definitely. It's actually one of the things I spend a majority of my time on in my role at Envestnet Yodlee. So as a company, we have been around for 25 years. So 2024 actually marks our 25th anniversary. So we have been around for a while. And in that time, we've been really focused on promoting open banking and open finance, even before they were termed open banking and open finance. And we're doing that both to the public through a lot of our outreach. So again, kind of conducting the survey that I just mentioned previously. So trying to get customers to engage and just see, do they actually know what open banking is? Do they know what open finance is? Getting that type of information so we can start working with clients to better educate consumers about what these topics are and how they help everyday consumers. And then the flip side, also working very closely with policymakers. And we work very closely with the team at FDATA to draft letters, to respond to comments, to make sure that the open finance regime that we are pushing for and that we're creating is the best for the US economy. And I think one of the really unique parts of Yodlee is that we're not just in the US. So we are a truly global open finance provider, and that we have offices in London, we have offices in India, offices in Australia. We are also active in South Africa as well. So what we've been doing a lot recently is pulling on all of our international experience and providing that information to enrich the responses and the conversations we're having with policymakers. So I think the thing that we're really seeing now is, and like I said in the previous question, was just this isn't the first time someone's doing it. This is a truly global movement, and we're really starting to see that the implications of where it's been introduced in other countries. The US really needs to start acting now if it wants to stay competitive in the global market. So I think I'm in a lot of conversations with regulators from different countries around the world, and one of the first questions that they always ask is, what is the US doing? So everyone's really starting to compete because they want to have the best possible open banking and open finance regimes, so that way they can really ensure that consumers are getting the best value for money, and that there's actually value in data providers and fintechs having access to this data. So it's kind of from that competitive landscape that the US needs to do this now so it doesn't fall behind. I think also there's just a movement within the market itself. So because the US doesn't have regulation at the moment, open banking has been a market-driven development. So it's been through collaborations between fintechs and data providers that have signed bilateral agreements that have opened up these APIs. And it's from the initiative of the data providers to build these APIs that we actually have open banking today in the US. Where we start to see kind of the hairy stuff and where policymakers really need to kind of step in is making sure that there's more alignment on key things like liability, consumer protection, and fees. That's where the role really is. And then kind of just encouraging the use of a standard setting body across the board to, again, make it a lot easier to just share the data, make it easier for banks and fintechs to quickly enter the market and start really benefiting from open banking in the US. So I think one thing that we're actually already seeing is a consumer demand for access to their data, and we're seeing it increase rapidly. So I think just knowing that there is that demand, knowing that customers are already interacting with these interfaces, they're already seeing the benefits. We're just going to continue to see that to grow. So one of my favorite use cases to explore is actually probably one of the most simple ones, but an easy one that a lot of people can do and that tends to get overlooked. It's actually personal financial management tools. They are some of the simplest things. A lot of our banks are now actually starting to offer as a service, as an embedded service themselves. But what it does, it's that first step in that process of a consumer getting access to their data, to read through it, to understand what they can then do or what they can't do. For small businesses, on the flip side, it's very similar. So again, letting them have access to that data in a real-time way, it allows them to better manage their cash flows. So I think one of the easiest things is that you get a lot of invoices, trying to just manage those and stay on top of those. If you can have it in a readable format and you can see it very easily, very clearly, it allows you to then make better decisions about your business. So we're seeing huge impacts in the credit space, which I think is an incredibly useful one as well. And that for both sides, consumers and small, medium businesses, it's very hard to get credit. So if we can help them and kind of build out those credit files, make it a lot easier because of the data we have on hand, so both of those individuals can get access to credit. So I think it's an incredibly exciting future for open banking, open finance, and we're just really starting. So we've had open banking for a while in the US, but we're now really kind of on that pivotal movement of we're getting regulation. And now we're going to start seeing, okay, how can we, in a regulated environment, how can we really flourish and build better, more informative products for consumers and small, medium businesses?